So we have our trig functions. We have sine of x, and that's related to the opposite side over the hypotenuse. We have the cosine of the angle. That's related to the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. And we have tangent of the angle. And that gives us the opposite side over the adjacent. And then I remember this using that trick. I remember so, ka, toa, and that's how I remember which one goes with sine, which sides go with cosine, and which sides go with tangent, and how they're related. Okay, so we're going to do the same type of thing that we did before, but now we're going to have something like this, where we have sine of x. We don't know the angle today. The angle is missing. And that equals something like 4 over 5. And we're looking for the angle. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the inverse sign. So we need something to counteract, to do the opposite of what sine is doing. So the function that does the opposite of what sine is doing is called inverse sine. So we do sine inverse. It looks like this. And I'm going to kind of put it, I didn't leave myself enough space, so I'm just going to kind of write it over here. Sine inverse. So if I do sine inverse on one side, to follow the rules of algebra, I have to do sine inverse on the other side. Okay? So then sine inverse cancels sine. So over here we just have the angle, we have x. And on the other side, we can just type this into our calculator. We're going to type in sine inverse of 4 over 5. And we just take our calculator, and if we look at, so we've got sine, cosine, tangent. If we look above those buttons, it depends on your calculator. But this calculator, I have sine with a little tiny -1. That's sine inverse, cosine inverse, and tangent inverse. So to get those, I just have to push the second button. So blue button, then sine. So I've got sine inverse. And then I just type in my number, 4 divided by 5, parenthesis, and that gives me, and today we're going to round to the nearest degree. So our nearest degree is in the ones place. We move over one that's less than 5, so this will be 53. So our angle here is 53 degrees. Okay, so not too bad. Okay, questions on this process? How does that seem? Okay, let's go ahead and do some on our homework. So this first section is really easy. All we have to do is we have to type it in our calculator. So this very first one, we have sine of b, and we have a number. Sine of b is this number. Well, we don't want this number, we want the angle. We want b. So we need to do sine inverse. So we're going to do the opposite of sine, which is sine inverse on this side. Opposite of sine on this side. There's not a lot of space there. So sine inverse cancels sine, and we'll get the angle b on this side. And then we have sine inverse of whatever this number is. 0.4848. Okay, and then we just type that in. It's kind of glaring up here. So remember, we do second and then whatever trig function. So sine inverse, and then we have 0.4848 parenthesis, enter. Oops, that was a 1. I missed a 4. This one's supposed to be a 4. Okay, there we go. And then again, our homework is asking us to round to the nearest degree. So we just go to the first decimal place. If it's bigger than 5, we're going to round up. So this will be 29 degrees. So angle B is 29 degrees. Okay. Questions on number 1? You're doing okay? Okay, let's do one more in this section just to make sure. Let's do 6 because it's tangent. Tangent sometimes seems trickier. So we're looking for the angle. We're looking for W. So all we have to do is we have to do tangent inverse, get rid of tangent on this side. And if we do that on one side, we have to do that on the other side. So tangent inverse of this number. And then our angle will be whatever this is, tangent inverse. Ooh, try not to get the light there. Tangent inverse of 19.0811. So second tangent, that gives me tangent inverse. And then I type in this number, 19.0811, end parenthesis. And we get, let's see. So the first decimal is 9. So I'm going to round up to 7. So 87 degrees. The angle W is 87 degrees. Okay, questions on that? Okay, so I think the first section is the easiest. You just have to practice plug it in your calculator. Okay, do the inverse. All right, so now further down, we have to use our sine, cosine, tangent functions to set it up and then solve for the angle. So let's do the first one. Let's do number 9. So I'm looking for this angle down here. I'm going to call it x. You can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it angle x. And I have the opposite side from angle x, and I have the adjacent side from angle x. So if I have the opposite and adjacent, what trig function should I use? Sorry? So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Yep. Tangent. Good. So we have tangent of our angle. We don't know what our angle is. Equals our opposite side, which is 27, over adjacent. My pen just died. Okay. Adjacent is 38. There we go. So now what are we going to do? We need to solve for the angle. How do we do that? So if we times 38, we're going to get 38 over here. And we want x. So x is almost by itself. We just have to do one step to get x by itself. Tangent inverse. We need to get rid of this tangent. So tangent is a function, so we need to do the inverse function. So tangent inverse, oops, -1, on this side, and tangent inverse to this side. So our angle will be tangent inverse of whatever that is. So second tangent, so now I have tangent inverse in my calculator, and I need to type in 27 divided by 38 parentheses equals, and I'm rounding to the nearest degree. So the first decimal is a 3, that's less than 5, so we're going to round down to 35. I'm going to put that here. So 35 degrees. Okay. Question so far? Okay. Let's see. Let's do a different one. Let's do another one on the first page. Let's do 14. Let's try this bottom corner one. So we have this angle. What sides do we have? Good. Opposite and hypotenuse. So what trig function do we need to use? Good. So we're going to use sine of our angle equals our opposite side, which is 11, over our hypotenuse, which is 27. Then we just need to do one more step. We need to get rid of sine. So x is by itself. So what do we need to do? How do we get rid of sine? So kind of, sine will have a minus. It's going to be sine inverse. It's kind of like our opposite sine function. So we'll do that, sine inverse of this. Hi. So sine inverse cancels sine. We get x. And then we'll just type this in, sine inverse into our calculator. Scoot it over a little bit. So second sine gives us sine inverse. And then we do 11 divided by 27, end parentheses. And then 0 is less than 5, so I'm going to round down to 24. So our angle is 24 degrees. Okay, questions on that? Does that kind of make sense? Okay, all right. So the back is kind of like that, the back of the first page. Get rid of 25 and 26. Don't do those. We're skipping those. You can do them if you want, but we're going to skip those. Okay, and then the last 2 pages are just the same thing, but they look different. And some of them have the whole triangles labeled. So let's start with number 1 over here. So we have to first find angle O. Where's angle O? Good, it's down here, bottom here. So now, based on we are looking for angle O, we need to label the sides. So what sides do we have here for angle O? Good, opposite. And we have adjacent, good. And so what trig function will we use? Good. Tangent of our angle O, equals our opposite side, which is 40, over our adjacent side, which is 9. And then I just need to do one more step. I need to get rid of tangent. I'm going to do the tangent inverse. Tangent inverse of this side, tangent inverse of this side. So tangent inverse cancels tangent. So angle O is whatever that is, tangent. So second tangent, so tangent inverse of 40 divided by 9, end parenthesis, gives me 77.3. 3 is less than 5, so we're going to round down to 77. So 77 degrees is the measure of angle O. Okay, we're going to do one more of our homework. Let's do just the next one over. Let's do number 2. So number 2 is different because all of the sides are labeled. So you have to be careful about labeling the sides. So we're still looking for measure of angle O. O is here. This is measure of angle O. Then we get to pick what trig function we use. So does anyone have a favorite trig function? What one do you want to use? Tangent? Okay, tangent is a good one. So if we are using tangent, we need the opposite. This is our opposite side. And we need our adjacent side. This is our adjacent side. So tangent of O equals the opposite over the adjacent. Oops, 45. And then all we have to do is get rid of tangent. So do tangent inverse on both sides. So tangent inverse cancels tangent. This is angle O. Looks like a 0, but it's angle O. Equals whatever this is. Tangent inverse of this. Tangent inverse of 28 divided by 45. Okay, and 8 is bigger, the first decimal. 8 is bigger than 5, so I'm going to round up to 32. 32 degrees. Okay. Yeah. So this one is kind of cool because no matter what trig function you pick, as long as you set it up right, you're going to get the same answer. So if I picked sine and I did opposite over hypotenuse, I should get the same angle. So whatever trig function you pick, as long as you pick the right sides over each other, you'll be able to get the right angle. Okay. All right, questions on that? You guys think you can do the rest of it? Pretty straightforward? Okay, good. All right, let me know if you have more questions. There's a key up here. I think I posted the key on Canvas. I will let you know if let me know if I didn't put it up on there. Yes.